Alright everybody, hail and welcome back to Midgard Musings and to this very special and hopefully fun for you video. I've been looking forward to doing this, but I also haven't been looking forward to doing this. But before we get started, hail and welcome again. My name's Jesse, I'm the host here on this channel, and if this is your first time here and things that are pertaining to Norse heathenry and Germanic paganism, Asatru, whatever, if any of that is something that you're interested, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate that. And then if you don't want to miss anything, make sure that you've enabled the bell notification so you get notified whenever I do upload new content. Alright everybody, so I've talked a little bit about this in at least one previous video, and I've had a poll up here on YouTube and over on the Facebook page as well, for all of you to sort of cast your votes at which story from the lore you would like for me to read from while I'm consuming some very, very hot beef jerky. Now, this beef jerky, we'll talk a little bit about it before I get into the video, but this beef jerky was a gift to me from my wife, and because she knows that I like really, really hot things, hot foods. As you can tell, I've already, broken the seal, broken into it. If you guys don't think that this is what it says it is in here because of the broken seal, there's nothing I can do about that. But rest assured, I am not doing this just for the clicks and whatever. I'm doing this because I thought it would be a really fun thing for you guys to see me do. But it is comes from Wicked Cuts, and this is the Wicked Hot Carolina Killa beef jerky. I'll show you guys here. There's going to be information down in the description on where you can get this. I'm not sponsored or endorsed or whatever by Wicked Cut, so I'm doing this straight for fun. But there's a great big story here on the back. It's really kind of entertaining. I do encourage you, if you guys like good quality jerky, not just the hot stuff, but if you like good quality jerky, check them out, because this jerky, although it is very hot, is also very delicious. So again, this video is going to be me reading to you guys a story that you voted on, and all your votes accumulated and added up deemed that I would be reading the poem Thrymskvida, where Thor lost his hammer and has to, dress up as Freya to retrieve it. So that story I'm going to be reading to you from this book. I've had this book here for a while. I picked it up at a Barnes & Noble. It's Epic Tales, Norse Myths and Tales. Say that 3 times fast. And it's got a lot of the different stories from both the poetic and prose edda, just kind of entered into a bit more of a more of a prose fashion, right? So you start off with like the creation myths and all different kinds of stuff, and leading up to the various stories that we read about in the lore, and some of the heroes of legend and stuff are mentioned in here too. So it's going to be a fun time. I hope you guys like this video. Just so you know, I'm going to read you some of the ingredients just so you understand what I'm getting myself into here. Of course, there's beef, there's teriyaki sauce, which is soy sauce, water, wheat, soybean salt, wine, high fructose corn syrup, water, vinegar, salt, spices, onion powder, Carolina Reaper mash, scorpion peppers, which the Carolina Reaper mash makes up Carolina Reaper peppers and vinegar. That's all it is. There's cayenne, there's pineapple juice, Worcestershire sauce, chili pepper extract, ghost pepper. Yeah, so there's 3 of the world's hottest peppers in here, and hopefully what we're gonna see happen here is I'm going to start reading to you from the story as I consume the contents of this bag. So for ease and ease of consumption, I'm going to empty the contents of the bag into my into this bowl here, and just have it here. And I'm gonna try to finish the entire bag before I get done with the story. So here we go. It smells really great, by the way. It does, like it says, it has pineapple juice in here, and you can really smell the pineapple juice. Okay? So, for anybody wondering, actually I've got a few stragglers here. Don't want to leave anybody behind. Okay. So anyway, there you go. empty bag. Dead soldier, as they say. And we'll just keep that right here, but hopefully you guys can see it. If you've already seen it, you know what it is. Let's get rid of that silica gel packet. And here's, like I said, I've already tapped into this, so I know what I'm getting into. And it's very delicious, but it's also very hot. So here's the jerky by itself. Very tender, very moist. Falls basically just right apart. So, and what I'm also going to try to do is, I didn't even grab any paper towels or anything to like wipe my eyes or blow my nose with. I'm going to try to make it through this without reaching for any relief, but I do have some water and a beer on the side if I just need to help wash it down. So the reason we're doing this, everybody, just in case you've not eaten, in case you've never eaten hot foods or really super hot foods, the effects of capsaicin is going to really mess with my my motor function. So it's probably going to be more difficult for me to speak, to read. Breathing is going to be a little bit labored. I'm going to probably get a bit of a head high from the endorphin rush that I've got going through my body. So sorry for the delay. I just want everybody to get an idea of what it is that I'm getting myself into, and hope you guys enjoy it. So without further ado, here is the story of Thrymskvida while under the influence of super hot jerky. So thank you all for watching. Don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Like this video. Let your friends know about it, and see you on the other side. Cheers. Lost my spot. Very tasty meat though. Okay. Kids at home, I know your parents tell you not to talk with your mouth full of food, but for the sake of this video, for the sake of this video, I kind of have to, so don't chew with your mouth full of food. Sorry, don't talk with your mouth full of food. Anyway, the quest of the hammer, Thrymskvida. One morning, Thor the Thunderer awoke with a yawn, and stretching out his knotted arm, felt for his precious hammer, which he kept always under his pillows of clouds. But he started up with a roar of rage so that all the palace trembled, for the hammer was gone. Now this was a very serious matter, for Thor was the protector of Asgard, and the Mjolnir, the magic hammer, which the dwarfs had made, was his mighty weapon, of which the enemies of the Aesir stood so much in dread that they dared not venture near. But if they should learn that Mjolnir was gone, who could tell what danger might not threaten the palaces of heaven? The nature of these peppers, overall mouth burn, but like it really hits the throat, so it's why it's hard to speak and stuff. Woo! Thor darted his flashing eye into every corner of Cloudland in search of the hammer. He called his fair wife, Sif of the golden hair, to aid in the search, and his two lovely daughters, Thrud and Laura. They hunted and they hunted. They turned Thrudheim upside down and set the clouds to rolling wonderfully as they peeped and pried behind and around and under each billowy mass. But Mjolnir was not to be found. Certainly someone had stolen it. It's getting hot. I'm starting to sweat. Thor's yellow beard quivered with rage. Who says yellow beard? I thought it was red beard. We're gonna change that. Thor's red beard quivered with rage. Much like my voice is quivering right now from all the heat that I'm consuming. And his hair bristled on end like the golden rays of a star, while all his household trembled. "It is Loki again," he cried. "I am sure Loki is at the bottom of this mischief. For since the time when Thor had captured Loki for the dwarf Brock and had given him over to have his bragging lips sewed up, Loki had looked at him with evil eyes, and Thor knew that the red rascal hated him most of all the gods." Hoo-wee. Oh, tears are starting to come. Still got a lot of ones to go with this one. But this time Thor was mistaken. It was not Loki who had stolen the hammer. He was too great a coward for that. And though he meant before the end to be revenged upon Thor, he was waiting until a safe chance should come, when Thor himself might stumble into danger and Loki need only to help the evil by a malicious word or two. And this chance came later, as you shall hear in another tale. Oh boy. Tears are starting to really flow now, guys. Mouth is burning. Starting to sweat. Tastes great. It's delicious. Meanwhile, Loki was on his best behavior, trying to appear very kind and obliging. So when Thor came rumbling and roaring up to him, demanding, "What have you done with my hammer, you thief?" Loki looked surprised, but did not lose his temper nor answer rudely. "Have you indeed missed your hammer, brother Thor?" he said, mumbling, for his mouth was still sore where Brock had sewed the stitches. If you guys can see, but starting to tear up pretty bad. Getting all emotional up in the feels. That is a that is a pity. For if the giants hear of this, they will be coming to try. Alright. Just need to get the... wash it down. Oh. Little flecks of beef is what was catching me. Contrary to popular belief, drinking fluid, like water or beer or anything, does not help alleviate the heat that you experience when you're eating super hot peppers or anything that has super hot peppers in it, because capsaicin is, which one is it? Water soluble, fat soluble. It doesn't, it absorbs into your skin, and water and any sort of fluid just kind of moves it around. So sipping on a beer or sipping on water is just helping get the meat down. It doesn't help cool off anything by any means. Anyway, where was I? Okay, that's a pity, for if the giants hear of this, they will be coming to try their might against Asgard. Hush! Oh, hush! Shut up! Muttered Thor, grasping him by the shoulder with his iron fist. "That is what I fear!" Like, duh. That's what I fear, but look, you Loki. Look, I support your hand in the mischief. Come! I support your hand. I suspect your hand is in this mischief. Come! Confess. Then Loki protested that he had nothing to do. Oh man, he had nothing to do with so wicked a deed. But, he added wittingly, "I think I can guess the thief, and because I love you, Thor, I will help you to find him." Okay. Getting my bearings back. Getting very lightheaded. That is a massive piece. I think we'll save that. That's another big piece. Holy crap. I'll save that for the end. Whew. You know, I'm gonna read more of the story because I've got so much of the story left and not that much of the meat left. I'm gonna try to keep this going. Read more of the story. snarled Thor. Much love you bear to me. However, you are a wise rascal, the nimblest wit of all the Aesir, and it is better to have you on my side than on the other when giants are in the gates. When giants are in the game. I can't read. Tell me, who do you think robbed the Thunder Lord of his bolt of power? Loki drew near and whispered in Thor's ear. Look how the storms rage and the winds howl in the world below. Someone is wielding your thunder hammer all unskillfully. Can you not guess the thief? Who but Thrym, the mighty giant, who has ever been your enemy and your imitator, and whose finger have long itched to grasp the short handle of mighty Mjolnir, that the world may name him Thunderlord instead of you. But look, what a tempest! The world will be shattered into fragments unless we soon get the hammer back. Then Thor roared with a rage. I will seek this impudent Thrym, he cried. I will crush him into bits and teach him to meddle with the weapon of the Aesir. Softly, softly, said Loki, smiling maliciously. He is a shrewd giant and a mighty. Even you, great Thor, cannot go to him and pluck the hammer from his hand as one would slip the rattle from a baby's pink fist. Nay, you must use craft. You must use craft, Thor, and it is I who will teach you, if you will be patient. Oh, man. Thor was a brave, blunt fellow, and he hated the ways of Loki. His lies and his deceit, he liked best the ways of warriors. The thundering charge, the flash of weapons, and the heavy blow. But without the hammer, he could not fight the giants hand to hand. Loki's advice seemed wise, and he decided to leave the matter to the Red One. Now, you guys see what's happening is that heat is building in my throat. It's, I say, almost closing my throat up. It's hard to. It's like my mouth is watering. It's salivating. Still very lightheaded. Nose is running. Eyes are watering. Oh boy. It's delicious. Absolutely delicious. Magically delicious. Loki was now all eagerness, for he loved difficulties which would set his wit to play and bring another folk into danger. Look now, he says. We must go to Freya and borrow her falcon dress. But you must ask, for she loves me so little, and she would scarce listen to me. Wonder why. So first they made their way to Folkvang, the house of maidens, where Freya dwelt, the loveliest of all in Asgard. She was fairer than fair, sweeter than sweet, and the tears from her flower eyes made the dew which blessed the earth flowers night and morning. I'll tell you right now, my tears, not flower tears, more like flame tears. I feel like I may have just bitten to the loins of Surt. Oh boy, okay. So anyway, of her, Thor borrowed the magic dress of feathers in which Freya was wont to clothe herself and fleet like a great beautiful bird all above the world. She was willing enough to lend it to Thor when he told her that by its aid he hoped to win back the hammer which he had lost. For she knew well the danger threatening herself and all the Aesir until Mjolnir could be found. Now will I fetch the hammer for you, said Loki. So he put on the falcon plumage and spreading his brown wings, flapped way up and over the world, down, across the great ocean which lies beyond all things that men know, And he came to the dark country, where there was no sunshine nor spring, but it was always dreary winter, where mountains were piled up like blocks of ice, where great caverns yawned hungrily in blackness. And this was Jotunheim, the land of the frost giants. I'm getting the stuff of my book. The oils or whatever. They're off my hands and onto the book pages. And lo. And lo, when Loki came there too, he found Thrym, the giant king, sitting outside his palace cave, playing with his dogs and horses. The dogs were as big as elephants, and the horses were as big as houses. But Thrym himself was as huge as a mountain, and Loki trembled. But he tried to seem brave. "Good day, Loki," said Thrym, while the terrible voice of which he was so proud. With the terrible voice of which he was so proud, for he fancied it was as loud as Thor's. Oh! How fares it, feathered one, with your little brothers the Aesir, in Asgard halls, and how dare you venture alone in this guise to Giant's Land? It is an ill day in Asgard, sighed Loki, keeping his eye warily upon the giant. Oh, me. And a stormy one in the world of men. I heard the winds howling and the storms rushing on the earth as I passed by. Some mighty one has stolen the hammer of our Thor. Is it you, Thrym, greatest of all giants? Greater than Thor himself? Oh, come on. Oh. Greater than Thor himself. Loki's trying to play it up a bit, you know? Trying to stroke his ego a bit. Oh, man. Oh, okay. This, the crafty one said to flatter Thrym. You know, for Loki well knew the weakness of those who love to be thought greater than they are. It still tastes really good, guys. You'd be amazed. My face and expressions may not look it, but it's tasty. Then Thrym bridled and swelled with pride, and tried to put on the majesty and awe of noble Thor. But he only succeeded in becoming an ugly, puffy monster. Well, yes, he admitted. I have the hammer that belonged to your little Thor, and now, how much of a lord is he? Oh. Wow, it's a juicy one. I'll get it down, buddy. Oh, I'm out of breath. Like I'm very much lightheaded and feeling out of breath as I read this to you. You guys enjoying this? Having fun? Alack, sighed Loki again. Weak enough he is without his magic weapon, but you, O Thrym, surely your mightiness needs no such aid. Give me the hammer, that Asgard may no longer be shaken by Thor's grief for his precious toy. I'm being very careful not to use the fingers that I've touched the jerky with to touch anything on my skin, my eyes, anything like that, because that right there would put me into another level of issues. Okay. As I almost just did what I said I'm trying not to do. But Thrym was not so easily to be flattered into parting with his stolen treasure. He grinned a dreadful grin, several yards in width, with his teeth barred like jagged boulders across the entrance to a mountain cavern. "Mjolnir, the hammer is mine," he said, "and I am Thunderlord, mightiest of the mighty. I have hidden it where Thor can never find it. 12 leagues below the sea caves, where Queen Ran lives with her daughters, the white-capped waves. Listen, Loki. Go tell the Aesir that I will give back Thor's hammer. I will give it back upon one condition: that they send Freya the Beautiful to be my wife." Freya the Beautiful, Loki had to stifle a laugh. Fancy the Aesir giving their fairest flower to such an ugly fellow as this. But he only said politely, "Ooh." He did not politely burp. That's pepper burp, guys. When you eat a lot of these hot things, you get different people react differently, but some people will belch or hiccup. I tend to belch, so apologies in advance. He said politely, "Ah yes, you demand our Freya in exchange for the little hammer. It is a costly price, great Thrym. But I will be your friend in Asgard. If I have my way, you shall soon see the fairest bride in all the world knocking at your door. Farewell." So Loki whizzed back to Asgard on his falcon wings, and as he went, he chuckled to think of the evils which were likely to happen because of his words with Thrym. First, he gave the message to Thor, not sparing of Thrym's insolence, to make Thor angry, and then he went to Freya with the word for her, not sparing of Thrym's ugliness, to make her shudder. The spiteful fellow. I don't miss any. Now you can imagine the horror that was in Asgard as the Aesir listened to Loki's words. "My hammer," roared Thor. "The villain confesses that he has stolen my hammer and boasts that he is Thunderlord. Ugh! Ugh! The ugly giant," wailed Freya. "Must I be the bride of that hideous old monster and live in his gloomy mountain prison all my life?" Oh, I shudder to think. I also shudder to eat more of this because it is so hot, but oh, so tasty. So very tasty. "Yes, put on your bridal veil, sweet Freya," said Loki maliciously, "and come with me to Jotunheim. Hang your famous starry necklace upon your neck, and don your bravest robe. For in 8 days there will be a wedding, and Thor's hammer is to pay." Oh, yeah, that was a big one. That was a big one. Then Freya fell to weeping. "I cannot go, and I will not go," she cried. "I will not let the home of gladness and Father Odin's table to dwell. I will not leave the home of gladness and Father Odin's table to dwell in the land of horrors. Thor's hammer is mighty, but mightier the love of the kind Aesir for their little Freya. Good Odin, dear brother Freyr, speak for me. You will not make me go." Ooh. Very sorry, apologies. We're getting there, folks. We're getting there. The Aesir looked at her and thought how lonely and bare would Asgard be without her loveliness, for she was fairer than fair and sweeter than sweet. She shall not go, shouted Freyr, putting his arms around his sister's neck. No, she shall not go, cried all the Aesir with one voice. But my hammer, insisted Thor. I must have Mjolnir back again. And my word to Thrym, said Loki, that must be made good. I need to get through this story, man. We'll save this piece towards the end. Because this is already going on 30 minutes into this video. Ish. And I still have a little bit less than half to go on the story. I'm already up here, guys. Oh, wow. You are too generous with your words, said Father Odin sternly, for he knew his brother well. Your world is not a gem of great price, for you have made it cheap. Your word is not a gem of great price, for you have made it cheap. I like that. Then, nose is running. Then spoke Heimdall, the sleepless watchman, who sits on guard at the entrance to the Rainbow Bridge which leads to Asgard, and Heimdall was the wisest of the Aesir. For he could see into the future and knew how things would come to pass. Through his golden teeth he spoke, for his teeth were of pure gold. Excuse me. Pardon me. I have a plan, said he. Let us dress Thor himself like a bride in Freya's robes, and send him to Jotunheim to talk with Thrym and to win back his hammer. But at this word, Thor grew very angry. What? Dress me like a girl? He cried. I should never hear the last of it. The Aesir will mock me and call me maiden. The giants and even the puny dwarves will have a lasting jest upon me. I will not go. I will fight. I will die if need be, but dressed as a woman, I will not go. Oh, me. Some of the things coming out of me are as hot as the things going into me. My eyes are tearing up more because of the heat. Oh, but Loki answered him with sharp words, for this was a scheme after his own heart. What, Thor, he said. Would you lose your hammer and keep Asgard in danger for so small a whim? Look now, if you go not, Thrym will have his giants. Thrym with his giants will come in a mighty army and drive us from Asgard. Then he will indeed make Freya his bride, and moreover he will have you for his slave, under the power of his hammer. How like you this picture, brother of the thunder? Nay, Heimdall's plan is a good one, and I myself will help to carry it out. Thor hesitated still, but Freya came and laid her white hand on his arm and looked up into his scowling face pleadingly. To save me, Thor, she begged, and Thor said he would go. Whew. Okay, building up some momentum now because I'm not quite so overtaken by the heat, but that was a large piece. Then there was great sport among the Aesir when they dressed Thor like a beautiful maiden. Brunhild and his sisters, the 9 Valkyrie. Brunhild and her 9 sisters. What did I say? 9. Brunhild and her sisters. The 9 Valkyrie, daughters of Odin, had the task in hand. Tears coming down my face. Such a beautiful story. How they laughed as they brushed and curled his yellow hair. Again, we're going to say red hair. Why they put yellow is ridiculous. Oh, they curled his red hair and set upon it the wondrous headdress of silk and pearls. They let out seams, and they let down hems, and set on extra pieces to make it larger, and so they hid his great limbs and knotted arms under Freya's fairest robe of scarlet. But beneath it all, he would wear his shirt of mail and his belt of power that gave him double strength. Freya herself twisted about his neck her famous necklace of starry jewels, and Queen Frigga, his mother, hung at his girdle a jingling bunch of keys, such as was the custom for the bride to wear at Norse weddings. Last of all, that Thrym might not see Thor's fierce eyes and the red beard, that ill became a maiden, they threw over him a long veil of silvery white, which covered him to the feet, and there he stood, as stately and tall a bride as even a giant might wish to see. But on his hands he wore his iron gloves, and they ached but for one thing, to grasp the handle of the stolen hammer. "Ah, what a lovely maid it is," chuckled Loki, "and how glad will Thrym be as to see this Freya come. Bride Thor, I will go with you as your handmaiden, for I would fain see the fun." "Come then," said Thor sulkily, for he was ill pleased, and more his maiden robes were no good, and wore his maiden robes with no good grace. "It is fitting that you go, for I like to not see lies and maskings, and I may spoil the murmury without you at my elbow." There was loud laughter above the clouds when Thor, all veiled and plainty seeming, drove away from Asgard to his wedding with maid Loki by his side. Thor cracked his whip and chirruped fiercely to his twin goats, which, that's a little hot on the nose now. I did what I said I wouldn't do. With his twin goats with golden hooves, for he wanted to escape the sound of mirth that echoed from the Rainbow Bridge, where all the Aesir stood watching. Loki, sitting with his hands meekly folded like a girl, chuckled as he glanced up at Thor's angry face. Excuse me. But he said nothing, for he knew it was not good to joke too far with Thor, even when Mjolnir was hidden 12 leagues below the sea in Ran's kingdom. So off they dashed to Jotunheim, where Thrym was waiting and longing for his beautiful bride. Thor's goats thundered along above the sea and land, and people far below who looked up wondering as the noise rolled overhead. "Hear how the thunder roars and rumbles," they said. "Thor is on a long journey tonight." And a long journey it was, as the tired goats found before they reached the end. Thrym heard the sound of their approach, for his ear was eager. "Hello," he cried. "Someone is coming from Asgard. Only one of Odin's children could make such a din as so fearful. Could make a din so fearful. Hasten, men, and see if they are bringing Freya to be my wife." Then the lookout giant stepped down from the top of his mountain and said that a chariot was bringing 2 maidens to the door. "Run, giants, run!" shouted Thrym in a fever at this news. "My bride is coming. Put silken cushions on the benches for a great banquet, and make the house beautiful for the fairest maid in all space. Bring in all my golden horned cows and my coal black oxen, that she may see how rich I am, and heap all my gold and jewels about to dazzle her sweet eyes. She shall find me richest of the rich, and when I have her fairest of the fair, there will be no treasure that I lack, not one." The heat has dissipated, and I've got this quite large piece left, and about a page and a half left of the story. So let's work on this, shall we? Ah, yes. The beautiful fruit-filled, flavored, smoky, hot piece of deliciousness. Welcome back into my mouth hole. The chariot stopped at the gate, and out stepped the tall bride, hidden from head to foot and her handmaiden muffled to the chain, muffled to the chin. How afraid of catching cold they must be, whispered the giant ladies, who were peering over one another's shoulder to catch a glimpse of the bride, just as the crowd outside the awning does at a wedding nowadays. Oh, you guys want to see the bride? A hot piece right there. Ooh. Let me get it down. Whew. Delicious. Thrym had sent six splendid servants to escort the maidens. These were the Metal Kings who served him as lord of them all. There was the Gold King, all in cloth of gold, with fringes of yellow bullion, most glistening or glittering to see. And there was the Silver King, almost as gorgeous in a suit of spangled white. Side by side bowed the dark kings of iron and lead, and one mighty in black, the other sullen in blue, and after them were the Copper King, gleaming redly and brave, and the Tin King strutting in his trimmings of gaudy tinsel, which looked nearly as well as silver but were more economical. And this fine troop of lackey kings most politely led Thor and Loki into the palace and gave them of the best, for they never suspected who these seeming maidens really were. At this point, I'm drinking beer just for the satisfaction of it. I have nothing else to prove. And when evening came, there was a wonderful banquet to celebrate the wedding. On a golden throne sat Thrym, uglier than ever in his finery of purple and gold. Beside him was the bride, of whose face no one had yet even caught a glimpse, and at Thrym's other hand stood Loki, the waiting maid, for he wanted to be near to mend the mistakes which Thor might make. Excuse me again, everybody. Oh, sorry. Now the dishes at the feast were served in a huge way, as befitted the table of giants. Great beeves roasted whole on platters as wide across as a ship's deck, plum pudding as fat as feathers, as feather beds, with plums as big as footballs, and a wedding cake like a snow-capped haymow, whatever that is, I don't know. The giants ate enormously, but to Thor, because they thought him a dainty maiden, they served small bits of everything on a tiny gold dish. Now Thor's long journey had made him very hungry, and through his veil he whispered to Loki, "I shall starve, Loki. I cannot fare on these nibbles. I must eat a goodly meal as I do at home." And forthwith he helped himself to so much morsels as might satisfy his hunger for a little time. You should have seen the giant stare at the meal which the dainty bride devoured. Two more bites. Let's get it done. I'm making 2 more bites to prolong the agony. For first, under the silver veil disappeared by pieces a whole roasted ox. Then Thor made 8 mouthfuls of 8 pig salmon, a dish of which he was very fond. Next, he looked about and reached for a platter of cakes and sweet meats that was set aside at one end of the table for the lady guests, and the bride ate them all. You can fancy how the damsels drew down their mouths and looked at one another when they saw their dessert disappear. And they whispered about the table, "Alas, if our future mistress is to sup with us like this all day, there will be poor cheer for the rest of us." And to crown it all, Thor was thirsty as well as he might be, when one after another he raised to his lips and emptied 3 great barrels of mead, a foamy drink of the giants. Then indeed Thrym was amused, for Thor's giant appetite had beaten them out had beaten that of the giants themselves. "Never before saw I a bride so hungry," he cried, "and never before one half so thirsty." But Loki, the waiting maid, whispered to him softly, "The truth is, great Thrym, that my dear mistress was almost starved. For 8 days Freya had eaten nothing at all, so eager was she for Jotunheim." Then Thrym was delighted, as you may be sure. He forgave his hungry bride, and loved her with all his heart. Can't barely see here. Loved her with all his heart. He leaned forward to give her a kiss, raising a corner of her veil, but his hand dropped suddenly, and he stared up in terror, for he had caught the angry flash of Thor's eye, which was glaring at him through the bridal veil. Thor was longing for his hammer. "Why has Freya so sharp a look?" Thrym cried. "It pierces like lightning and burns like fire." But again, the sky-waiting maid whispered timidly. The sly waiting maid whispered timidly, "Oh, Thrym, be not amazed. The truth is, my poor mistress's eyes are red with wakefulness and bright with longing. For 8 nights Freya has not known a wink of sleep, so eager was she for Jotunheim." Then again, Thrym was doubly delighted, and he longed to call her his very own dear wife. "Bring in the wedding gift," he cried. "Bring in Thor's hammer Mjolnir, and give it to Freya, as I promised. But when I have kept my word, she will be mine, all mine." Oh, guys, we're almost there. Last piece. Thank you guys for watching. Then Thor's big heart laughed under his woman's dress, and his fierce eyes swept eagerly down in the hall to meet the servant who was bringing in a hammer on a velvet cushion. Thor's fingers could hardly wait to clench the stubby handle, which they knew so well, but he sat quite still on the throne beside ugly old Thrym, with his hands meekly folded and his head bowed like a bashful bride. Oh, yeah. The giant servant drew nearer, pulling and blowing. Strong though he was, beneath the mighty weight, he was about to lay it at Thor's feet. Oh, me. Excuse me. For he thought it so heavy that no maiden should have to lift it or hold it up in her lap. When suddenly Thor's heart swelled, and he gave a most unmaidenly shout of rage and triumph. With one swoop he grabbed the hammer with his iron fingers, and with the other arm he tore off his veil that hid his terrible face, and trampled it underfoot. Then he seemed to the frightened king, who cowered beside him on the throne. "Thief!" he cried. "Freya sends you this as a wedding gift." And he whirled the hammer about his head, then hurled it once, twice, thrice, as it rebounded to his hand. And in the first stroke of lightning, Thrym rolled dead from his throne. In the second stroke, perished the whole giant household, these ugly enemies of the Aesir. And in the third stroke, the palace itself tumbled together and fell to the ground like a toppling playhouse of blocks. But Loki and Thor stood safely among the ruins, dressed in their tattered maiden robes and quaint, curious sights. And Loki, full of mischief, now as ever, burst out laughing. "Ha ha! Oh, Thor, if you could only see," he began, but Thor held up his hammer and shook it gently as he said, "Now, Loki, it was an excellent joke, and so far as you have done well, after your crafty fashions, which, like me or not. But now I have my hammer again, and the joke is done. From you, nor from another, I brook no laughter at my expense. Henceforth we will have no mention of this masquerade, nor of those rags which now I throw away. Do you hear me, Loki?" And Loki heard, with a look of hate, and stifled his laughter as best he could. for it was not good to laugh at him who holds the hammer. Now once after that, there was never a mention in Asgard of the time when Thor dressed him as a girl and won his bridal gift from Thrym the giant. But Mjolnir was safe once again in Asgard, and you and I know how it came there. So someone must have told. I wonder if Red Loki whispered the tale to some outside, after all. Perhaps it may be. So for now, he knew how best to make Thor angry, and from that day, when Thor forbade his laughter, Loki hated him with the mean little hatred of a mean little soul. Alright everybody, thank you again for watching this video. I hope it was entertaining. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up if you want more people to see these videos. Please share them. Thank you all again. Hail. Have fun out there, guys, with whatever you're doing. This was fun for me. Yes, it was painful, but man, I enjoyed it. And I got my dinner in for the night, so 2 birds with 1 stone. Alright, folks, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, share this with your friends. Hail, hail, and I'll see you in the next video.